Hey everybody, it's Jessica from Color Pop Party Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to make a very easy treat favor mock-up in Photoshop. So this is totally a beginner project, so if you aren't that fluent with Photoshop yet, it's totally okay. This will get you going. This does not have smart layers in it. So if you were looking for a tutorial on how to do, mock-ups with smart layers, then stay tuned because I do plan on creating a video for that too. But for now, this is a very basic beginner mock-up tutorial, and we're going to create these mock-ups right here, right now. So to start, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new layer. A new canvas. So go to File, New, and it's going to come up like this. I'm going to use pixels for this one because this isn't going to be anything that I'm going to print. This is actually going to be for the website or for your shop. So I'm going to start with 2500, 2000. They do say that 72 is good for the screen, like for the website or a phone or something. But I always like to do 300. I don't know why. I just feel like that's going to be the best quality, so I go with that. If I do anything less than that, I never go 72 just because if I want to zoom in later or use my image in an area of my website that is built for a larger scale, you might get a little bit of blur and it may not look so great. So I would go with 150 or 300 for the resolution. And then everything else here looks fine, and click Create. So it's going to give us this page. Now the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to Google or Safari or whatever you use and just look up chip bag silhouette. I don't look for chip bag PNG. I don't look for chip bag images. I look for chip bag silhouette. You can look for chip bag PNG. Alright, so here's one. That shape looks pretty good. So I'm going to right click on it. You can save image as, but for this tutorial I'm just going to copy the image. I'm going to go back down to Photoshop and I click Command V, or you can do Control V, depends on what your computer uses. And then just make it larger and then click the OK. And I'm going to turn off this background layer just to make sure that this image is already transparent. Now if this image is not already transparent, and let's say that it has a white background or another color background, what you can do is come over here. It's going to look like this. But this is your eraser tool. Right click on your eraser tool and go to the bottom where it says Magic Eraser Tool. And then you would click on whatever color. Obviously don't click on your chip bag. I'm just using this as an example. But you would click on the background that it has. Hopefully you can find one that's just a white or gray background that's very solid. Click on that and it should remove that. If you find that the image that you chose whenever you use the background eraser, it doesn't actually get everything, then I would go back to Google and look for a better image. As you can see, I found one here that I didn't even need to remove the background. So we're going to carry on. I'm going to turn my background back on. Now the first thing that I want to do for this is I want to go to File, Place Embedded, and I am going to go to my chip bag design that I want to put on my mock-up. So you add that in, And I'm just gonna make sure that it covers just over the chip bag that I added. Okay, just gonna cover everything up and then click the check for OK. And you can right click and then go to create clipping mask. All right, so it's looking pretty good, right? And we've only done a couple of things, but we're not going to stop here. You can click on it again. You can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to move it around. You can click on it and drag it around to wherever you need it to be. Just make sure that all of the chip bag that you pulled from the internet is covered. All right, so it looks pretty good. Get it to the right a little bit more. All right, cool. So you could stop here. If this is okay with you, then you can stop here. This is super easy, and you can do this with any shape treat favor. You know, Rice Krispies, anything, right? But if you want a little bit more detail to this, so it doesn't look so digital, give it a few more details, follow along. It's pretty easy, all right? First thing I do is I'm going to double click on that chip bag layer. I'm going to go down to drop shadow and check that. So already it gives us a nice little background here on our chip bag. Now mine, the color that I have is right about here. It's about 3/4 of the way down on this grayscale. It doesn't matter what the color is. Mine is set at red, but it doesn't matter. Just on the left, it's about 3/4 of the way down. And I set the opacity for about 47. If I put it all the way up, you can see that it makes it darker. If I slide it down, it makes it much lighter. So you can play with that and just put it to wherever you like it. The angle I left straight up at 90 degrees. You can also change it. Excuse me if you can hear my daughter in the background. It's so hard for me to make videos because I work from home. I do this, and my children are usually always here. So, yep. So, but if you change the angle, you can see that it changes where the light would be shining on the object. So again, you just put it wherever you like it. And for this shadow, for this drop shadow, my distance is at 16, the spread is at 15, and the size is at 40. Again, you can move these sliders around and see what they do, play with them, and get it to where you like it, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the chip bag layer just because it's on top. And then I'm going to click down here, the square with a plus, and go make a new layer. Then I'm going to come over here to my brush tool, and I'm going to make it very small. My brush right now is only 5. Okay, and then I'm going to grab on the color palette over here, I'm going to get black. And I'm going to zoom in. To zoom, you go to View, Zoom In. Here is Zoom Out. And here is Fit on the Screen. Those are very helpful. And over here, at least on my computer, it shows me the shortcut for this. This means Control plus and Control minus can zoom in or out. So I always use the controls, the shortcuts. I love the keyboard shortcuts, so I'm just going to zoom us in. And I'm going to click on the space bar, hold the space bar, and then click and drag till I get where I want. Okay, so we're going to use our brush tool. We're going to click and hold. Then I'm going to press Shift and hold. And while I'm holding, I'm dragging it over. Now I'm going to press down on my keyboard again, and then press Shift and slide it over. Press down on the keyboard, hold it, press Shift and hold, and slide it over. Be careful not to press Shift first, because if you press Shift first, it's going to try to connect your lines together, and we don't want that. Okay, so we've done the top. Now let's go down and draw our lines on the bottom. Now, a little word of advice. Try not to make your lines too close together. It doesn't actually look good in the end result if they're too close. All right, so there we go. And I'm just gonna, we can rename this. Double click on the text on that layer, and this is gonna be ridges. That's our ridges layer. Okay, so then make sure that that layer is highlighted. You're gonna go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, click on that. And this is where you are going to get the ridges. Actually, let's take a step back. Let's go to that layer and let's go down a little bit. Let's go 50% and let's check that. And then filter, do the Gaussian blur again, and then there you go. That looks much better. So definitely drop the opacity for that layer. I did mine at 50%. And then the Gaussian blur that I did, let me undo that, was about 3.2. Yeah, so the radius on this is 3.2 pixels, but I'm not going to do it again. All right, so it's going to blur the top and the bottom. And if we back up, then we can see the ridges, and they look pretty realistic. Okay, so for this chip bag, I feel like we are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these layers into a group, because now we're going to do the back of the chip bag. So I'm going to start with the top layer and go all the way down to our bottom layer. I'm going to click Shift and hold it, and then click that bottom layer, and it's going to highlight all of our layers for us. Then I am going to, I'm going to use my shortcut, but you can right click on those and then go up to Group from Layers. And then you can name this group. I'm going to name it Chip Bag Front. Okay, so now you can see it's put everything in a nice little folder for us. This arrow here can open the folder and we can see everything. And if we want to keep it nice and clean and tidy, we can bring it back up again and close it. Now, click the keyboard shortcut. I don't know the actual one for this, but Command or Control T, and then I'm going to make it a little smaller. When you do Command or Control T, it highlights everything on this layer for you, and you can move it around as if it's one image. But then once you click OK, it's still multiple layers. You did not actually flatten the image. Now you can flatten the image. I never do. Because if I decided, you know what, crap, I messed up, I made a mistake, I need to do a chip bag template for a different chip bag design, I can just go right in here and switch it out. Oh, one more thing, ridges, make sure that you're creating a clipping mask on this one also, so that if you went over the edge a little bit with your line, it's just going to clip down to this bottom layer still. So we have the arrow here, the arrow here, and both of those layers are clipping down to this. Sorry, I forgot about that. All right. So highlight the group that we created, right click, go up to duplicate group, and this one is going to be, we're going to name this one Chip Bag Back. So it's going to put it right on top. And we're going to go ahead and Command T or Control T and then grab it and bring it over here. Okay. And let's open this folder. Now we don't want the front mermaid image. What we do want is the back. So we're going to go to File, Place Embedded, grab the same image, the same chip bag. And again, I'm just going to size it to where it's just covering the chip bag. Let me do this one first. Okay, so this is about half. So I'm going to bring it up to about there. Click OK. And I am going to use, well, I was going to use my shortcut, but I'll right click, create clipping mask. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on this layer that I hid. This is the front of the chip bag. I'm going to click on the layer and just click delete on my keyboard to get rid of that because we're not going to use that anymore. So this is going to be, this is one side. We need two of these. So you can you can right click on that, duplicate layer. I'm not going to name it. I'm just going to press OK. And then I'm going to grab it and move it over. And you can also click on this one again and move it over as needed. So this one, I'm going to nudge it with my keyboard arrows down because I had a little yellow sticking out at the bottom. Okay. Actually, I'm going to stretch it just a little bit so I know that it's covered. Alright. Alright, so that's how that looks. And just make sure that maybe your layer, this layer is not actually fitted to your chip bag. You know, all you have to do is just go to it, right click, create clipping mask, and it's going to stay down on that. Okay, so then I'm going to close that file. I'm actually going to put the back underneath the group for chip bag front. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to do it for another treat. So this is the finished product. I'm going to turn both of those off and I'm going to start over with a Rice Krispie treat. So I have already, this one I typed in Rice Krispies treat PNG and this guy came up right here. So the background is white and the color of this one is pretty much solid blue. On some of them you will get like this one here. There's the white stripe down that. That makes it harder if you need to remove the background. So I just got this guy. I right click and I copy the image, but you can save it if you'd like to use that later. You can go ahead and save it to your computer. Go back to Photoshop and you can, since I copied it, you can go to edit and paste. And then we're just going to zoom in a little bit and click OK. And I'm going to remove this bottom background so I can see if this is transparent, and it's not. So we need to go back over here. Again, if this is your first time, this is what it will look like, the eraser tool. But you would right click and go down to the bottom, magic eraser, and then you just click on the white part and it will delete it. And I will go get my move tool again. Okay, so here we go again. I'm going to go get my design, file, place embedded, and of course this is my Rice Krispie, so I'm going to get my Rice Krispie treat design, and again I'm just going to make sure I'm covering both sides, like just covering the whole Rice Krispie treat. I'm going to right click, create clipping mask. Alright, make sure that the blue is covered up, looks good. So on the Rice Krispie treat layer, I'm just going to add a drop shadow. Now it still has all of our same presets that we used the last time, so I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to bring up my white background again so I can kind of see better what I'm doing. Okay. Now I'm going to click the top layer, which is the design that I added. I'm going to go down to the square with the plus, which is add a new layer. I created a new layer here. I'm going to go to our brush tool again, My brush tool is still at size 5, and my color is still black. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to click on the edge, hold it, click on shift and hold, and then drag it down. When you hold down shift, it gives you a perfectly straight line. And then click down, press shift, and just do all of this. Okay, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to create a clipping mask and clip it down to the Rice Krispie treat. Okay, this is a perfect example. I pressed shift too early, and like I said before, it's going to try and connect the two lines. So I just undid that. You can go to edit, undo, and that will undo the last thing that you did. Or if you undid it by mistake, you can redo it. So I can redo it, and I can undo it. And you can redo and undo about 30 times, I believe. So, so yeah, it's not just a one-time thing. You can go back about 30 steps or forward. Definitely comes in handy if you realize that you're just going in the complete wrong direction with your design and you need to like really back up, but you don't want to start over. Okay, so for that layer, I'm going to rename it again Ridges, just so it helps keep everything over here organized. And then I'm going to drop it down again to about 50. It's 49, something like that. That's fine with me. And I'm going to right click on it, create clipping mask. Now that got rid of the little piece that was off the edge here. And then make sure that that layer is still highlighted. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and the radius here is 3.2 pixels. This is the slider where you would, change that if that doesn't look right on your chip bag. But I think it looks good on my Rice Krispie. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to group these 3 layers together. Another way you can do it is click on the top layer, press and hold shift, and then go down and click each one after that until you have all of them highlighted. Right click, group from layers, and this is our Rice Krispie treat. Alright, so there we have that. So I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to click Command T or Control T on the Rice Krispie treat group layer so that I can resize it. And I'm going to bring it down to about here and click OK. And now I'm going to bring up my 2 other designs. So as you can see, they're looking pretty good. I'm going to click, I'm going to create that bounding box again with Control T or Command T. Let me just put this right here and actually make it a little bit bigger. But you can put it wherever you want, and like say you want to move these layers around, you can put this up here on the top. It didn't go, but put it there. You can move anyway. You can change, where those layers are sitting if you need to. For instance, Command T again. If I wanted to put this here and kind of turn it a little bit, make it look cute, for whatever, I can do that. But if it's back here, then obviously it's not going to look too good. So yeah, you can reorder the layers however you'd like. Now, if you want to add a background to this, go to click the background layer, and I always create a new layer on top of it. And I'm going to go to the paint bucket and then make sure that that layer is highlighted before you paint it. And then you can go up to the opacity of this layer and you can change it, make it lighter or darker, however you see fit. Now, another thing that you can do is if I didn't want this like a solid color, say I have like a cool sparkly background that I wanted to add, then I would click on the background layer, go to File, Place Embedded, and then you would just find your file just like we found our design here, and you would place it, and it will put it right on top of the background, and then you can just resize it and position it right here to wherever you wanted it to be. All right, so that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I hope that you found this video useful. Yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching. Bye.